This is the Relaxed Male, a show that comes to you each week helping men to remove the nice guy from their life so they can actually live their life on their terms. Join the host, certified coach Brian Goodwin, as he helps men step out of their heads and become free from the thoughts that bind them. Hey man, hello and welcome to the Relaxed Male. All right, so this week got a big change on what we normally do. This week we're actually going to be bringing in I haven't had a guest since Andy Heller, which was a couple of weeks, about maybe a month. Anyhow, it was a little bit ago. And wanted to bring in, this is an internet friend of mine, and we have been bouncing ideas off of each other for quite a while, and finally came up with one that worked great and decided, you know what, let's go ahead and let's do this. And we got together and we're going to talk about divorce, because a lot of folks know that I've not actually been through a divorce, though I have come incredibly close to going through a divorce. And so what actually qualifies me to be able to help guys who are going through a divorce? And we'll jump into that, and we'll break that down, and we'll kind of share that. But to have somebody on the opposite side who has actually gone through the pain and the anguish and the frustration and everything that is tied into a divorce, I have my friend Craig Ignatowitz come on, and he's here to be the opposite side of my line of thinking. He's here to smack me and get me lined out if I think I'm just too far, if he thinks I'm too far off base. So anyhow, Craig, man, glad to have you here on the show. Thank you for coming on. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We've been dancing around this idea for a while now. It's like, we should do a show together. We should do a show together. And we kept coming up with, I don't know about this one. I don't know about that one. And I saw that you were giving advice. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know that he had any experience with that. So I sent you that quick I am, and then I asked you where you were at in that journey. And I guess this is point and counterpoint today, where you talk about the things that helped you save it, and I'll talk about the things that didn't work for me.
Didn't work. So
I've been through this 3 times now.
Oh wow!
I guess they say third time's the charm.
Yeah.
A brief background. First marriage was at like 18 and a half, not quite 19. I was in the Navy. I knew everything I thought that went on in the world, and I know what I'm doing. People told me, don't get married now, you're too young. I'm like, no, we got this. We love each other. That's enough. Yeah. And it wasn't enough, because she decided that when we got married, I was already in the Navy. I'd been through boot camp, and I'd been through my first school. And I was home on leave when we got married around Christmas time. And she decided a little while later that she didn't want to be a Navy wife. So I got back from sea. I called her. I said, all right, the house is ready, because I rented a house with some friends. I said, I got everything ready. We're all set up. And she said, I'm not coming. And that was pretty much the beginning of the end for that one, because I wasn't going to be married to someone that I never saw. That was kind of stupid. So she flew down to Charleston, served me with divorce papers, and flew back the same day.
Oh, wow.
So she had that all planned out. Because I'm like, can we talk about it? She said, no, my flight's in an hour. I'm going back. I'm like, what? Hold on. All right.
She set her jaw to it, and she wasn't budging. So
there was no change in her mind. And I'm not saying that I was a great husband or I was perfect in any way, but it's not the way you want to kind of find out that it's not working out when she spends the money to fly down to Charleston from New Jersey to serve you with divorce papers.
Right.
Number 2, I met her on the ship I was stationed on in Norfolk, and we were friends first. We were friends for a little while, not a long time, but we were friends for a little while, and we started living together, and we got married, and then she moved us to Tulsa and dumped me in Broken Arrow. So that was fun. So I for a long time, I wouldn't even think about Oklahoma. I didn't want anything to do with Oklahoma, because I lost my wife, I lost my stepkids, and I lost my job, and I was homeless for a little while. So
oh wow,
Tulsa was not a great memory for me.
No, I can see how that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, but I made some really good friends. I found the church that I went to. And something I want to mention, I think it's still in existence. I'll have to check and see, but there's a program called Divorce Care. So, and if you guys are listening and you think that you want to save what you got, Divorce Care is a great program, whether you go together or you go singly, because I saw both. I saw couples that went from our church, and I saw a lot of single people that were going through a divorce, and I made a lot of friends, and I helped with counseling, and it was a great God-centered program.
Good.
It helped a lot of people. It helped me heal and helped me realize that, all right, this is not where you want to be, and this is not ideal, but God is here for you, and God listens, and he knows what's going on. He knows your situation.
Right.
And I always had someone that I could talk to. I could call up any one of those people that were attending that class, and I could talk to them. We used to go out for ice cream afterwards, and we'd sit and talk about stuff, or we'd hang out at someone's house and we talk about stuff, and it was great. That was number 2. And now number 3, I don't want to go into too many details, but it was an abusive situation. It was a dangerous situation for me. At least I felt that way. Not many guys will talk about domestic violence, but I was a victim of that to some extent. I can't compare myself to like a battered wife or any of those things, but yeah, it happens to guys too. And, and I didn't want to lose my kids, because neither one of my grown-up kids are talking to me now, but here I am at 55 starting over again. So yeah, you can survive it. It is possible to get past it eventually and move on.
Yeah. No, and it is. And that's, like you're saying, that's not something a lot of people want to really think about. Right. I mean, you want to have the belief that, when you get married, you're married and you're saying I do, and the happily ever after exists. And I'm here to say it is there to and it does happen. You can actually have a happily ever after. And that's kind of the direction that I'm taking this coaching practice, is that it's not so much that I am walking a guy through their divorce, because each divorce is unique. Each divorce has its own set of personalities. One of the most messiest parts about a divorce isn't the divorce itself. It's the people in it. Humans, we make everything messy. we throw a dash of emotion into something, and it just goes to crap in a heartbeat. And so, yeah, I don't try to help the guys get to get what they want out of a divorce, because that's not what this is about. To help guys emotionally get through that divorce is what I'm there to help them with. Because though I've not been through a divorce, I have been
right
that close to screwing it all up. And it was 100% my fault. I had started talking to a girl I knew back in high school, and just did everything that you're not supposed to do. Started talking about the wife and problems that we were having and all that, and a connection developed, and we came real close. There was a kiss in there, and that's shortly thereafter the wife found out, and it was hell for
I bet.
a good 3 years. I mean, where it was just
wow.
And I was. But the one thing I knew that I was dedicated to through that whole time was admitting that I'm the one that screwed up. Right. I have to. It is now all upon my shoulders to actually get the confidence back, build that trust back. I've told my kids many times, hey, trust is one of those walls that it takes a long time to build up and a half second to knock down. And that was one of the reasons how I knew that, is because we had been married for 8 years, 9 years, whenever my screw up happened. And from there, there was another 3 years before things started to fall back to where I wasn't all of a sudden at random times having Jana come up and going, let me see your phone. Let me, where have you been? And getting the 20 questions. Yeah. And there's a lot of guys who get a real big, do a lot of blowback on that, because they're like going, I've been loyal for the past year. Well, you're the one that screwed up. Now she's the one who screwed up, and you're willing to just let bygones be bygones. Okay, that's your choice. And that's where a lot of guys run into a lot of problems, is that they screw up, and then because the wife is still dealing with the hurt of that trauma, screw it. not say trauma, because it's not trauma. It may seem traumatic, but it is not trauma.
It can be a traumatic experience.
I am not one of the, I'm one of those that I can't, when you say something, with the way a lot of folks these days want to talk about trauma, it's like, oh, well, they've got trauma. It's a trauma bond. It's a trauma. It's like, no. It may have been traumatic, but didn't lose an arm because of it. Right. Yeah, there may be some mental hurt in there, but it's not trauma.
I had somebody tell me that they were fighting with their spouse and they had PTSD because of it. I'm like, no. I've served with guys that had PTSD, and let me tell you, honey, this ain't it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's horrible. It may seem terrible. It may seem all these things, but it's not. It's not the same thing.
It's not PTSD. Trust me. I don't have PTSD. But I've got enough friends who do have it because they've been in the Army. They were overseas in battle, and all that. And so, yeah, they've got PTSD, and I see, those moments when they're really fighting an issue with their mind is trying to jump back into security mode. And it's just, it gets a little, it can get really intense at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And divorce is not something that you should aim for, I don't think. And as someone who's been through it, I can tell you it's not everything it's cracked up to be. A lot of people are like, well, I can't wait to divorce her and I can't wait to divorce him. I'm like, that shouldn't be the goal. And, right. you said earlier about how it's not, it's not all roses all the time. And you should look for the happily ever after, but it's work. There's work involved in that. You don't just meet someone or marry your high school sweetheart and think, all right, this is it. This is going to be marital bliss till we're old and decrepit and everything. Back in the day, like my grandparents were married for, oh God, almost 70 years before my grandfather passed.
Right.
It had to be close to 70 years. I would watch them. And I know there was a lot of stuff they hid from us because we were kids, but they worked at it.
Oh yeah.
They constantly worked at it every day, and you just work and you fix it. And now it's like, oh, well, we're fighting. So that's it. We're done. And that's not really the ideal. And like I had a similar situation where I did something I shouldn't have done, and I stepped out when I shouldn't have, and I had a million reasons why I could justify in my head because I didn't like her or things weren't going well with us or whatever. And it's very easy once you get into that talking to a friend kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, that is probably the biggest danger.
For that bond to form because in my case it was someone who had been through a terrible marriage, so we had a definite bond there.
So when it comes to divorce and everything that and marriage is falling apart, more specifically, where do you think a lot of couples go wrong?
I think a lot of it is communication. I think once that first hurt happens, that to use the phrase, whoever draws first blood, once that first blood is drawn, a lot of couples will shrink back into themselves and they'll say, okay, well, you hurt me. So now I don't trust you anymore, or I don't feel as strongly about you as I did. And I think a lot of it starts there. And I think, now I've never been to a professional counselor or a therapist or anything. The closest I came to was a divorce care, which was led by people who seem to know what they're doing.
Right.
But I think a lot of people need to seek outside help. And I think it shouldn't be one spouse or the other choosing where you go. Like, well, I found this doctor, so we're going to go see him or her. And I don't think that's right, because that's one person forcing their beliefs and their ideals on the other one. And that never works. It's never going to work when one person has all the power and the other person is just like, okay, well,
right.
Because I've seen wives like, if you want to say this, then you're going to do what I tell you to do. And I understand that, because like you said,
right. No, that's
did the hurting, that spouse is hurt. They're wounded now. They're licking their wounds and they're drawn back into themselves. So I get the idea of you're going to do what I want you to do, but that doesn't really fix a situation at all.
No.
That, in a lot of cases, that makes it worse. Well, why does it have to be your way? And in my case, she said, well, I forgive you. And I thought, all right, well, you forgive me. So that should maybe not necessarily.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a
clean.
big difference between forgive and forget.
Absolutely. Right. But if you tell me that you forgive me, then you can't keep bringing it up for the rest of our marriage. You can't bring it up 20 years later. Remember that time when? No, that's not how it works. You can't do that, because that's going to hurt the other partner as well. And you can't keep digging at the wounds, wanting to heal, if you keep picking at it.
Yeah. And well, there's a part of that. I can see how you would arrive at that conclusion. But again, when it comes to, there's a big difference between forgiving and forgetting.
Mm-hmm.
You can, and I think what a lot of us actually get confused on is the difference between forgiving and accepting an apology.
Right.
And a lot of us, we accept an apology. We can accept an apology, and that's okay. But to truly forgive, that's something that actually does take years and years down the road to
absolutely.
really truly forgive that problem. Because they can go, well, I forgive you for this little transgression. You stepped out, and I'm sure there are people out there who can go, okay, I get it. Just know that somewhere down the way, I may have to do the same thing. So you want to, they may set their own terms and stipulations, but I think a lot of the issue that most, especially folks today, stumble over is the fact that they believe the other person has control of their emotions and their feelings. So they believe that your job is to make me happy. And no, people can't make each other happy. It's an actual impossibility. God didn't grant us the ability to control another person in that way. Now, people do. They try to give up that control and go, here, you've got all the control of me. You can make me happy, or you can make me sad, or you can make me angry. It's all up to you. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen because, one, do you really want somebody to have control of your emotions who struggles to control their own emotions?
Right. Yeah. You don't want to give up. You don't want to give up all control to somebody.
And then on top of that, you end up becoming a victim of, well, he didn't make me happy. Well, he can't make you happy. It's not a possibility.
I think you can encourage your spouse, and you can give them the support to find their happiness, but you can't be the sole source of someone's happiness.
No, you can't make it. Like I said, you can't make them happy. I mean, you can, because emotions don't come from the outside world. You see the sun hitting you on the face. That's not making you, the fact that the sun hitting you on the face isn't going to make you happy, because what if you have a sunburn? Right. You get the sun hitting you on the face. That's not going to make you happy.
Right. Absolutely.
So the circumstances are completely neutral. And this is something I've been really working with here recently, is just the neutrality of a circumstance. Because even you look at even the darkest times of the world, Nazi invading Poland, a lot of people think that's a really bad thing. A lot of the Nazis thought it was a really good thing. If it was, the circumstance was a real thing, actually created the emotions, everybody would feel the exact same emotion about it. 9/11. Most, if not all of the folks in the U.S., when the towers fell, we felt dread, horror, anger, all these quote unquote negative emotions.
Right.
There were folks over in the Middle East who were jumping up and down, celebrating, having parties on the roofs of their houses.
Yeah, I remember the videos of that.
And and so again, what the circumstance of 9/11 falling is actually completely neutral. It's just until you apply a thought to it that it becomes good, bad, or whatever. So
I think too many couples, like you said, rely on the other one to be the source of their happiness. And you can't do that. You got to be happy.
You have to make yourself happy,
because if you're not, it's never going to work out for you no matter what. Because there's always going to be an issue. There's always going to be that possibility of a hurt feeling because you didn't do what I expected you to do. Mm-hmm. Not that you have to do it, but you come to expect, well, I thought you were going to do this and you didn't do that. So now I'm angry with you.
Those call those manuals.
Right.
You know, your operator manual. You want to make me happy? This is what you do to make me happy. And if you don't do it, then, you know, again, that's you handing your control over to somebody else, or your wife handing a controller to you saying hit these buttons in the right order.
Right. And it took me a long time to be happy with myself, not relying on someone else. It's a lot of work to get there.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's worth it.
And one of the funniest things that I've,
your own skin.
Right. And one of the funniest things I've done with my wife, and just to watch her kind of struggle with it, was actually I'd gone off and absolved her of any responsibility of making me happy.
Right.
And watching her struggle of you could see her processing the thought as after it was said, and just to be able to drop that role and responsibility of her. Her job is no longer to make me happy. She is just to go off and try to find any way she can make herself happy, and that will reflect back up, be brought back into the marriage, and the marriage itself would be happy. So, what are some of the bigger things that men in general face? What are some of the bigger thoughts, or some of the worst thoughts, I guess you might even say, that men face and struggle with whenever they're going through a divorce?
I think a lot of it is it attacks your self-confidence because you feel like, all right, I screwed up. What did I do? And that's not all men, but I think the majority of men think, all right, I screwed up. How did I do this? I'm the man. I'm supposed to be the cornerstone of the family. There's so much pressure and so many things put upon men to be the strong pillar of the household. And when this happens, sometimes they don't see it coming because the wife has been unhappy for a long time. And she doesn't communicate that with her spouse. And sometimes you're blindsided by it. Like, I had no idea this was coming. My second wife, I knew we had problems, but I was trying to work on them. I was trying to be a better husband and everything. And she went back home to take my stepdaughter to see her father in Arkansas. And I guess stuff happened with her and her first husband, and that didn't really help us. And then we were fighting about that. And then out of the blue, she served me with divorce papers on Father's Day, which I thought was a really nice touch. Like, oh, by the way, happy Father's Day. Here you go. Here's a divorce decree for you. So I felt blindsided by that. I felt betrayed by that. I thought I was doing everything I could be to be a good husband and a good provider to the kids and everything. And boom, out of nowhere, it's like, I had no idea you were unhappy for this long. Why didn't you tell me, kind of thing? Or I had no clue. And I'm not saying that happens all the time, but I think it happens in a lot of cases. And the other side is the guy knows that it's coming and doesn't care.
Right.
And I think even the ones that say, oh, I can't wait to divorce you, I think, in my case anyway, deep down inside, it's like, it's not what you want.
No.
I got a text from my ex the other day saying, well, the divorce is finally, you're free now. I'm like, I wasn't looking to be free. I wasn't 25 years ago or 26 years ago when we said I do, this was not anywhere on my radar that at some point we're going to say, okay, well, that's it. We're done.
Right.
And I'd be starting over again at 55, almost 56. It's not what I wanted. Is the divorce something I needed? Absolutely, because I was in a bad situation. I was stressed all the time. I'd look at the clock and say, oh God, she's going to be home from work soon. Or I would be leaving work and I'd say, well, I have to go home to her now, kind of thing.
Right.
Which is not healthy by any stretch of the imagination. You should never get to that point in your relationship where you say, oh God.
Right. Yeah.
You're here.
It's a small clue if something's not good.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be in the same room. You don't want to spend time with them or anything. It's like, can we have a bigger bed so I don't have to touch you while I'm sleeping? Kind of
right.
Maybe the couch is not.
We need a bigger bed in our house, but that's just because we got a Great Dane sleeping between us. So
right, yeah, yes, it's not where you want to be. But sometimes, and this is going to sound counterintuitive to a lot of people out there, and a lot of counselors and marriage people and everything. But sometimes divorce is what you need to do.
Yeah,
it's not ideal. It's not what you should aim for or strive for. But sometimes you get to the point where you're just like, all right,
Yeah.
this is absolutely not working. Nothing you say or do is going to change my mind, and we need to separate.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one reason why I actually, my whole divorce program that I've created, I've actually called it the Divorce Crucible, because a crucible is just the container that you put raw material in to melt down to turn into something else. So you use that crucible, that big old cup or ladle that you see whenever people are smelting and melting down metals and stuff. And that's the analogy of taking a man, melting him down, which is not a comfortable process. I mean, there's a lot of flame, there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of change.
Right.
And
it's a refining process.
And you're refining yourself. And then on top of that, you're taking away all those impurities that form on the top. You're taking that slag, you're scraping it off and setting it and throwing it away. And what comes out of there is a better, pure man. And that's one of the things that that's actually the tactic that I'm wanting to take with men is, hey, this divorce is going to suck. I agree. I don't have to have gone through your divorce. I don't even have to experience, because one, your experience of your divorce is going to be completely different than what I experienced from it.
Yes.
Because I'm basing my experience, everything, all the thoughts that I have are based upon my past experiences.
Right.
And so my wife gets mad, throws something at me. I would, I may have she's angry again, and I'd be okay with it. Or it be, oh my, she's gone completely off a rocker, and she's going to kill me next. Same instance, ashtray hurtling at your head, two different thoughts, one being a little bit on the lighter side than the other.
Right.
And so that's one reason why I don't have a problem with, I've not gone through a divorce, and I know how to help men who do go through it, because we're not dealing with that particular, each individual, occurrence that happens. All of those are just circumstances, thoughts, or feelings.
Right. It's usually when something comes flying, you had these two thoughts. It's like, oh, what did I do? Or I need to go hide for a while.
Yeah.
Until she calms down.
Let's let her breathe. Let her breathe.
Right,
and a lot of us
never ever tell a woman calm down.
Oh, no.
That just makes it worse. Then you have to sleep with both sides.
But a lot of, but a lot of guys actually, and this is a rise of a big problem, societally speaking, is that a lot of men have become nice guys. Yes. And thinking that a nice guy is what they need to be able to achieve a better experience with their marriage, to be able to get more sex from their wife and all this. And honestly, that is the worst thing you can actually ever do, is to just sit there and be the nice guy, sit there and be this mealy-mouthed, linguini-spined dude who's just, well, where do you want to go eat? I don't care. Wherever you want to go. Well, no, she wants you to choose. She wants you to step up. Right. Be an semblance. You don't even have to be a man. You just have to kind of play a man for 15 minutes and go, we're going to go to Steak and Ale today. I don't know. I don't even know if Steak and Ale is even around anymore. But anyhow, so
they're making a comeback.
Yeah.
I saw an article making Steak and Ale's coming back.
Oh, that would be awesome if it does.
Yeah, I call those guys Melvin Milk Toast. They're just they're wishy-washy, and they're, like you said, they're mealy-mouthed and like, oh, okay, whatever you want, dear.
Yeah, whatever, dear.
Yes, dear. Whatever you want, dear.
So, but those guys,
you got to step up and be a man. You absolutely have to be. Have to be a dude.
And one of the hardest things for those types of guys is being a dude, because nice guys come from the term nice guy comes from Robert Glover's book No More Mr. Nice Guy. Right. And he talks about where guys get the whole nice guy line of thinking from. And it is because so many men are out of the house. And so the boys actually grow up in either a single mom household, right, or they don't spend near as much time with dad as before because dad's either out traveling all the time or doing whatever. Because back before the Industrial Revolution, the boys, even at 3 and 4 years old, would go out with dad and spend all day with dad. And dad would incorporate the masculinity of manhood into him just by proxy. And then when kids started having to go to school and started having to go to required to go here and there and all the other requirements, all their teachers and stuff were predominantly women. And so you had women in the raising them, women who are teaching them. And so they realized, oh, I get along a lot better and I get a lot more. Everybody seems to be happy with me whenever I try to people please.
Right.
Mrs. Johnson or my mom or Aunt Kathy or whoever. And because they have that line of thinking, they are very resistant to actual masculinity. And these guys will actually spend more time hanging around the women because it's easier for them to manipulate and to get these women to like them and to approve of what their actions are than to actually have to try to fight for the approval from a man. And that's where a lot of men struggle.
I didn't have to deal with that growing up. I spent a lot of time with my mother, a lot of time with my grandmother. You know, at Christmas parties or whatever, I would be in the kitchen with them because it was just like you said, it was easier to get along with. Yeah. I have to worry about being a guy or anything. Not that you really understand that at 4 or 5 or 6 years old, but there is that part of you that says it's better in here than it is out there. I didn't really have to be a dude until my teenage years. That's when I started, okay, now I got to figure out what being a man is. And then joining the Navy at 18 or 18 and a half.
And that's where a lot of guys actually turn into a man. That's why being either a soldier, sailor, Marine, whatever, that's when a lot of men become actual men because they are actually forced to be around a group of men. And so
there's no escaping it 24/7.
24/7. Yeah. It's all just a bunch of sausage party and it does them wonders. And because they are having to be around masculinity because men.
Yeah. I'm not pro military industrial complex or anything, but I think it would do a lot of the soy boys, a lot of the dating dudes, a lot of good if they would have to go even like a 6-week boot camp.
Yeah.
Just go toughen up a little bit. Learn how to be a dude or something other than what you're doing because what you're doing is not working.
It's not working.
Not serving society and
standing around.
I'm not saying you have to be all Joe Army or whatever, you know, but it helped me and it helped a lot of people I knew. Mm-hmm. You know, they became men. They grew into responsible adults and everything, and because they had no choice. But now I think there's too much the other way. Yeah, where people are like, you know, get along to get along, and they just go. They go with whatever the flow is, and I don't think that's a good recipe for a marriage at all.
Oh, it's not a good recipe for marriage. It's not a good recipe for friendship or anything. It's, you know, one of the great things about a relationship is the give and the take. Oh, you don't like this? Okay, well, tell me why you don't like this. Oh, well, I think you're full of crap, but okay, you know.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, and to be okay with the fact that somebody doesn't agree with you. That scares the crud out of both sides. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, we're not the happy
couple that I was telling all my girlfriends.
She's angry at me and I'm angry at her. And it just fell apart. So let's not even try anymore. And I think that's where a lot of folks, a lot of couples fall apart. And like you were saying earlier, they were, it's communication, it's that connection. Well, connection doesn't happen when you're sitting at one end of the couch, he's sitting at the other end of the couch, and y'all are doing two separate things. Right. You know, there's what is it called?
Absolutely drives me nuts is let's watch a movie together, and then she's on the phone all the time, and he's on the phone all the time. It's like we're not watching a movie.
Yeah. I'm being annoying with my phone because usually I'm scrolled up to IMDb reading off little facts about the movie. It's like, oh, did you know so and so did? Wow, I didn't realize they were going to have John Travolta in this one here, but he turned it down. Who's like that?
I had that problem with Amazon Prime where you could do the X-ray things. Like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, let's see what other movies have been in. I know this person.
All
But I
right.
spent a lot of times watching movies together where one of us was not
Yeah,
engaged at
not
all, and
engaged at
then
all.
they'd get mad and say, "Well, why don't we watch movies together?" Because I watch them and you watch your phone, or you're playing whatever the game of the day is on your phone. Oh no, I'm watching. No, you're not.
No, you're not. What happened?
Why'd you pause? Why'd you pause the movie? Because you're not watching it.
So, but again, with something like that, what would it? I mean, the issue that we came across on just that very scenario. Let's play with that scenario just a little bit. So she's not watching the movie. You're watching the movie, and you pause it. What was the thought that you were having that would have caused you to stop it?
That we were supposed to be watching it together, and one of us wasn't. And
Okay.
I can watch a movie anytime, but if I carve out time in my day, I put aside everything else for you for an hour, 2 hours, or whatever it is. I've agreed that we're going to watch a movie. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to be present for you. And even if we're just sitting next to each other on the couch, to me, that's being present with you because we're like hip to hip.
Right.
And there's the physical contact there, and we're supposed to be doing an activity together.
Right.
And you're not engaged in it, then that's insulting to me.
But okay, now
you demanded my time,
right.
and now you're not sharing your time with me.
Right. Okay. Now, see, that is exactly where a lot of where I'm getting at it comes from. We take an action and we interpret that action to be something. We have a thought.
Right.
So she's sitting there. She's looking at her phone, playing the game, and you have the thought of we're not being present.
Right.
Which created the feeling of probably something along. I don't know. When you saw that happen, what was that? Did you feel
Right.
with it?
In that instance, I took it as an insult to me. Maybe it wasn't meant that way. It probably wasn't meant that way, but we agreed that we're going to do an activity together, and then you're not there for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So you had the
why the hell am I here? Kind of thing.
You had the feeling of being insulted.
Yes.
So being insulted was that you would turn off the television, or you pause the television, and y'all would commence to having a disagreement about it. So did that actual thought led to y'all actually having a disagreement?
Yes.
Which led to y'all not being closer.
Right.
So what would have happened if you had changed your thought to, this is a good show. I'm at least sitting next to her.
Right.
That would have had a completely different outcome. Yeah.
Absolutely.
She may not have caught all the movie. I mean, and who knows? Maybe she's bored with the movie because, it's sci-fi. And I mean, my God, who likes sci-fi? We need a good.
I see your point. No, I see your point. And she may not have liked the movie, but there were instances and occasions where she chose the show to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I was not into at all. But I'm like, all right, she wants to spend time with me. I'm going to spend time with her.
Right.
And here we're going to watch this TV show or movie or whatever. This docudrama about ancient England or something. Who the hell knows what it's about, right? It doesn't. The subject doesn't matter. It's something that you're not into, but you can get to the point where you say, all right, well, I'll watch this because you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the effort. I'm watching something that I have no interest in. My eyes are rolling back in my head from whatever it is. I'm fighting like falling asleep because I really can't stand whatever I'm watching. And then you're like, you're next to me, but you're not really here. You're IMing with friends or whatever. You're texting people. I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay. Now,
you wanted to watch this show about the Queen,
right?
Not me.
Now let's kind of a little something that I've noticed with that is when people have what's called a motivational triad. Okay. That is, they want something, they want to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and be as efficient as possible. And so when she turns to her phone, she may have wanted to watch the show, but what most people do when they turn to a habit is they actually are looking for a bump in dopamine.
Okay.
So that habit of turning to the phone, these things are nothing more than just it's a bag of dopamine is what that is. That is a square slab of dopamine. And all you have to do is look at it, see that you got a like for something. Boop, all right. Hey, that feel a little bit better. And so they're always wanting to turn to, people want to turn to their phones all the time just because, they don't know they don't know how to be bored.
Right.
And even though they're watching a movie that they wanted to see and they may be watching it, since they're used to having their dopamine levels at an 8 and watching the movie, they're only sitting at like a 5.5.
Right.
They're going, oh, dude, we're low here. We need to bump this up. And so they turn to the television. So you can actually decide, you can change actually your thoughts on that. And you want to have a closer connection.
Right.
What would be a thought that you could have in that situation that would have given you a more closer, been able to have a closer connection to the woman that you were with at the time?
I don't know. I know now I make a conscious effort if I'm out and we're having lunch or dinner or whatever. There are times when I want, let me look that up on my phone. And I realize that I'm not really being here for her. So I put my phone down and I apologize profusely. I'm saying, I'm sorry. I was being rude to you.
Yeah. Well, and that's good because you're actually making the conscious choice of wanting to make sure that you are physically and mentally present. Well,
right. And I blame a lot of it on the YouTube society now. Well, I have the attention span of a gnat. I really do.
But if
a video is more than 30 seconds, I don't want to watch it. Like, oh God, a minute and a half. No, that's way too long. I don't want to watch a video for a minute and a half. That's way too long.
But at the same time, the issue, the reason why you and your ex were having such a hard time actually connecting was actually not the fact that y'all two weren't connecting, but your definition of what a connection was. Right. Were two separate things, but also you're on a journey of knowing what conscious living is like, to be able to live in the world, being present with what is actually around you. Right. While your wife, by the sound of it, I don't know her personally, so I'm not going to make an assertive discussion about it, but by the sound of it, it seems like she's pretty much still living in a very, Eckhart Tolle calls it unconscious living, where they just kind of go through the day. I like calling it unintentional. You're living, you're wanting to live your life very intentionally. I am going to be intentional with living with you, being present with you, watching a movie side by side. We're both wanting to watch the movie, while her life is going through in the opposite, where she's being very unintentional. She doesn't see, hey, I'm angry because of a thought. She sees, I'm angry because something happened and somewhere along the way, a magic formula kicked in and I'm now mad.
Right.
All right. So, I kicked the table. It's the table's fault that I stubbed my toe on the table because it was in my way. That's
what
unintentional thinking.
Is when that spouse is doing that action, whatever it is, and you're supposed to be watching a movie or whatever, you're supposed to be engaged with one another. You pause the TV show, and then they get upset. Well, why'd you pause it? Well, you're not watching it, so there's no point in continuing. Or when you look up every 5 minutes and say, what happened? What did I miss? Well, if you'd been watching it, if you'd been watching this thing that you forced me to watch,
right? Again, that is
in it, then you would know,
right?
that this just happened.
Yeah, but you could also have the line of thinking of, well, that's we have a chance to connect now. She wants to know what's happening. All right, well, this is what's happened, and you could give it a good way that I help my men to see what direction they're actually looking at it.
how would you have approached that if you were just stupidly, madly in love with her and nothing mattered except the fact that when you looked at her, you feel just overwhelming love?
Right.
So again, let's go to that same scenario. You're watching television. She's on the phone and you are feeling nothing but love, not frustration, not insults or anything like that. You're feeling just love for her. How would you have actually approached that then?
It probably wouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But that's the problem, is that so many times we don't choose love.
Right.
And that's the weird thing, because a lot of people will go, oh, so I'm supposed to just let her run over me if I don't feel love. So I'm supposed to just let her, continue doing whatever it is she's doing because I love her and I want the best for her. Not that I want the best for her, but just because I love her, I should let her just do whatever it is she wants. Well,
right.
Is it making her happy? If yeah, then why not? But right. It's going to kill her. So I should let her just have all the heroin she wants because I love her.
Right. Well, I think that loops around to what you said earlier about not letting them run all over you. If that's a pattern of behavior that your spouse has all the time, is that something you should accept, whether you're madly in love with her or not? Should you just accept the fact that when you're watching a movie that she bugs, well, not bugs you, but I guess pester is a good word. And she pesters you into doing an activity together over and over again. We never watch TV together. We never do things together. And we never do this. We never do that. And, you using that never word. And never is a word you should never, ever use.
Right.
Never and always are two trigger words. You always do this or you never do that, right? We never watch TV together. Well, we watched TV last night together, or whatever. It wasn't a show you want to watch. I made you watch like Ladies of Wrestling or something. I'm not really into this, but
But at the same time, when you hear your wife or girlfriend or whatever say, we never do that, is that knowing that whether it's true or not true, what does that actually say that she's wanting?
More attention from you, or feeling that.
And the only thing,
the moment present with her.
It could be that the only thing that she knows as of right now is we have the same. We both like to watch television,
right?
So maybe it's okay. We don't do anything together. Okay, well, we can do television,
right?
Or maybe we go out for a stroll. You might even be able to find something where it kind of forces her to have to set that phone down.
Right.
And, and it may not, I don't know, but there's always ways of being able to get the results that she wants and the results that you want. But it can get messy by just trying to interpret. And
right.
We want to take what people say, especially as guys, we want to take what people say very literally. Oh, we never watch television together. Okay, let's go watch television. Well, It may not be that she actually watched television. It may be that she's like, just her way of saying, you know what? I just want to, and it may be that and there's a whole bunch of maybes in here.
Right.
But, it could be that, she may just want to spend time with you. It may just be that one of her love languages was to just be physically present with you.
Right.
And y'all could be doing you could be building the ark as long as she's got her sitting right next to you playing on her phone. She didn't give a crap about your ark, but at the same time, she's just wants to be in that same room sitting side by side. Or and I don't know if you ever read the 5 love languages or not.
No, it's on my list of things to read.
It's an interesting read, and you'll go through there and go, oh. Okay, I saw that one. Right. So great book. But don't try to live your life by that, because you will drive yourself bonkers.
Oh, absolutely. Because I was watching a TV show and they were talking about that, because I guess when it was filmed, that was like the hot topic of the day. And watching this couple, like, well, she's like, this is my love language, and he's like, my love language is you not talking about love languages. That's my love language, is not talking about this stuff. That's, if you want to make me happy, let's stop talking about this stuff.
It is not
And
important.
unfortunately for my marriage, I learned a lot of things too late, or I made adjustments too late. And anyone who's listened to my podcast in the last few months, they're probably sick of me talking about my walk with God. And I've gotten better. I'm a better person now. I'm a better man than I ever was. I've changed all these things, and it's unfortunate it didn't come in time to save my marriage, but.
Yeah. But
I've learned now to be that person. Like, all right, well, we're together.
right.
When I'm sitting with my roommate and like, all right, we're on the couch together. We're doing these things together. It doesn't matter if you're on your phone and I'm doing a puzzle book, or I'm reading, or I'm watching TV, or I'm watching YouTube videos on my phone. I know that you are right there with me, and we're doing different things together, which sounds odd. How do you do different things together? Well, you feel that presence. You know that they're there with you. They're doing the same thing that you're doing, and you're enjoying spending your time together.
Yeah.
And guys and women both have got to realize that maybe that's enough. Maybe I don't need all the bells and whistles. I just need my spouse to be here with me.
Yeah.
Whether we're doing the same thing or not, it doesn't matter. We could both be reading our books. We could both be watching different Facebook reels or whatever, but some way, somehow you're still doing it together.
Exactly.
And you're right. In those instances, I should have realized that, well, at least she's here with me. I think what angered me most was this was your idea to do this activity. And now I put aside whatever I was doing or whatever I wanted to do or whatever I would normally be doing at this time. Now I'm doing this activity with you, and you've checked out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what my anger was. You wanted to do this, and I'm here doing it. I'm making an effort.
Yeah, I could have been doing something completely different, but now I'm
all into it, and you're not here.
Right. And so again, we shifted out of that prism of love into a prism of frustration.
Yes.
And and we could actually, I could get into to the emotional feeling wheels, whatever you want to call them. But a lot of people, there's two primary emotions. And a lot of people want to say that there's like 4 or 5, but no, there's only 2 primary emotions. There's love, and then the direct opposite, which isn't hate, but it's fear.
Okay.
So because hate actually comes from fear, and so does jealousy come from fear. All the quote unquote negative emotions come from fear and uncertainty.
Right.
While love creates the joy, the happiness, the euphoria, and all the other positive emotions. So there's a fear-based emotion, there's love-based emotion. And most of the time, not most of the time, all the time, when we feel fear, that is when we are actually having a very unmanaged brain. When we're not paying attention to what our thoughts are, when we're living a very unintentional life, we become very fearful because we let our amygdala just go, oh, well, this isn't working. This is happening. We're going down the wrong road.
Right.
What does this all mean? And we're trying to read into a bunch of stuff that has nothing to be read into.
Right. Right.
So it's one of those where, if you can stop and pay attention when you catch yourself going down that hill and you really go, well, do I really believe that? And start just kind of questioning yourself, doing your own.
Right. You got to rein that in.
Yeah. You can reel it in and go, oh, yeah, she's on her phone. She likes to be on her phone. It's because she's, she needs a little extra dopamine. All right. And you realize that the boundaries that we all are all talking about are for those who don't live their managed brain.
Right.
So, you got your mother-in-law who is always coming over and sticking her nose into the business. That's where she's doing that so that she can, feel, that she still has some type of influence over her daughter's life.
Right.
Very unmanaged brain. She is living a very unintentional life.
I was very lucky. I out of the 3, I had 2 really great mother-in-laws and one that she should burn in hell. The second one was the only one that
just drove
not a single son-in-law liked her of the 3 daughters or whatever it was. Not a single son-in-law liked her. Because at Christmas time, there was one son-in-law that was married to the favorite daughter, and he got everything at Christmas, whatever he wanted. Nothing was too big or too expensive for him to get. And, you know, that's not why you should go into a marriage, because of things you get from your family.
Right.
But we would each get like a flannel shirt, a pair of jeans or something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a lot. And he'd get like the fishing reel with the 17 jewel movement and the gold plating and all this shit. And the other three of us would stand around Christmas shaking the boxes and look at each other and say, jeans? Yep, jeans.
Yep. And again,
that woman lived to cause strife. She treated the grandkids all differently. She treated the daughters all differently. I'm like, I don't understand why you put up with this.
I've got a friend
I don't get it.
Very much the same way. And
yeah, I would use a lot of mother-in-law jokes, and I could make a few, but I got very lucky twice because both my mother-in-laws absolutely adored me. Good. I don't know why, but I'll take it.
Yeah. But see, and one of the things that is around that and why the managed brain is so important is for instances like that. So if you got, y'all were able to, you and the other in-laws were able to laugh about it. Yeah. You had the favorite who was, he got the really kick-ass fishing reel, while y'all just got jeans or a shirt, but y'all were able to joke about it because y'all were, again, one of the things that I have really noticed about men and the difference between men and women is women need positive input.
Yes.
That's why when they're in the corporate world, they have to take so much mental health days, and they need to take personal days and all that so much. And that is because they have to find some way of adding positivity to their life.
Right.
And men, we actually, because of our masculinity, we actually can take the negative of the world. And that's actually, I kind of think that's how God set us up to be, is we take the negative of the world. We go to our family, we go to our wife. She dumps all her problems onto you. And, we're not supposed to fix it. We're not supposed to fix it all the time, which is something we all struggle with, but we are supposed to take the negative. And then what we do is we actually associate ourselves with other men. The very fact that we actually hang out with other men, and that's why I recommend that men meet up with other men on a very, very regular basis. Once a week, five guys go out and hang out in the woods, or just build a shed for the fun of it, just to tear down the next week. To do those types of things is that very act of doing those allows you to take your negative energy and to actually convert it back into positive energy. Right. So that you can actually share that with everyone around you. And I've started calling guys that we're a tower of positive energy. And because that's what we do. We take it in. And that's why we wear a lot of guys will wear the women out. Yeah. Society tells you, you need to be opening up to your wife. You need to be sharing more with your wife. What do you actually need to be sharing with your wife?
Right.
A lot of people think, I'm supposed to be sharing my day and all that. No. Share more positivity with your wife. That's what she's actually wanting. Right. Or your girlfriend or whatever.
I never really put it that way, or put it together that way. Something that I was thinking about, I read recently, men are fixers. We want to, if someone comes to us with a problem, we want to fix it. Well, if that person's being mean to you, then just stop talking to them, kind of thing. But something I read recently was, instead of coming at it from that angle, approach it more from the point of view of, do you want comfort or do you want a solution, kind of thing? When the wife comes to you and she wants to complain about something, or to use the vernacular, to bitch about something, and it's like, all right, you have to put into your head, does she want comfort? Does she want a solution? Does she just want to vent without you saying anything at all? Just let her vent.
And a lot of that helps with, if you can go to, when she starts saying, hey, I need to talk. I've gotten around to where it's, all right, are you just needing to talk, or you needing a solution?
Right.
And most of the time it's not about the nail. If you ever saw that video,
Yep.
it turns around. It's not about the nail. It's just a fact that she wants to use you as a sounding board. She wants to bounce the ideas off of it. And because as she talks, anytime we're talking, we're actually just sharing our thoughts. Our thoughts are filled our head up and are flowing out of our mouth. And so it's just a thought converted into sound. And so, a lot of times she's just thinking her problems through.
Right.
And that's one reason why nice guys get in so much trouble and they instantly try to fix stuff.
Right.
Is because all of a sudden that emotion is like, oh, my wife isn't happy. She's not in the emotional state I want her to be in. So let's fix it. Let's get it done. Let's get it fixed. It doesn't matter whether it's the right way to fix it. Just get it fixed. So she stops complaining. Right. And so she gets back up to that acceptable emotional level, because nice guys want that emotional level to be a particular spot. That's why they're manipulators. They manipulate you to keep your emotion at a particular comfortable range. You don't get too high. You don't get too much excited about something, and you don't get too low. You don't get too unhappy about something. You got to be right in a particular area, and they're fine. But anytime somebody has a problem and all that dips down too low, or they got something really great that's happened and it gets way too high for them, they'll do something to bring that back down, to level it out. And
I'm guilty of that. I always wanted to I don't understand why you're putting up with this, or just knock it off.
Yeah. It's like what
stop it.
You know what you ought to do? Stop talking to them.
Stop talking to them. If they're making you mad, stop talking. Well, you don't understand my friend. Well, they don't sound like a very good friend.
Like I said, I've got a friend who drives me up the wall, but she is my wife's best friend. And it drives her up the wall, and it's just one of those where you just accept it. It's
like that. That I'm like, why are you talking? All right, whatever.
I know it's your only friend, but you could make more friends if you just you do something.
Right. If you just try a little bit, there are other people in the world that you can talk to. I promise. They're out there.
They're out there. There's 8 billion people out there now. So
she's a school teacher, and she talks about her day and all her problems, and I'll let her. And she'll just ramble on for a while. She's like, "Oh my, I didn't realize I was rambling." I'm like, "You need somebody to vent to. Let it go, because it doesn't affect my life one way or the other." How the other
exactly, and that's what so many people don't understand, is that it honestly doesn't affect you.
I think a lot of men have that problem,
and so
it's not about you, dude. Yeah. It has absolutely nothing to do with
her crying on your shoulder is not going to help you one way or the other. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make your life worse. Yeah, it may not feel wonderful at the moment, but that's okay. Right. It's just a feeling. A feeling is nothing more than a vibration we feel throughout our body. So who cares if you feel crappy at the moment because your girlfriend's unhappy? It's not fun, but at the same time, it's not bad.
You could be a sponge, or you could be like a sheet of rubber that just let it bounce off and slide off for you. And, all the negative crap can pull at your feet, and you step out of that circle of crap, and it doesn't matter because you were there for them and you needed to support them and whatever.
So what were some of the skills that you have learned to develop now that you've gone through your divorces?
A lot of things are not as important as you may think they are. Okay. They don't, a lot of things just, you get to the point where you say, you know what, that doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my life any. It doesn't make me a better person or a worse person. It has no bearing on my life whatsoever. Another thing I've developed is listening from a neutral standpoint, where if someone's complaining to you about something you did, you just, all right. And you open up and you realize, yes, I was a jerk and I did this, and I was a jerk face and I did that, and that's not how I should have reacted. So you learn how to act differently and not react to everything. You don't have to react to everything that comes into your sphere of influence.
Right.
You can just choose to ignore it. Another thing is compassion, trying to understand, and even empathy. I've always been a very empathetic person, and I get how people feel, whether they're communicating that or not. Sometimes I just know how a person feels, and that's a very important skill to develop. Now, you can't suddenly become empathic. It doesn't work that way. I think you're either born with it or you're not. I think you can be sympathetic. I think you can try to understand what someone's going through without actually knowing what they're going through
Right.
or feeling what they're going through. Listening is a very important thing. You know, you may be pissed off at your spouse or your partner or whoever, but you've got to realize that maybe what they did was not intentional, or maybe what they did had nothing to do with you whatsoever. That was a skill I developed when I worked at Harbor Freight, where I would tell the younger kids, you know, like the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, I said, people are going to come in here and they're going to be pissed at you. You had nothing to do with them
you didn't have anything
until
to do
30
with
seconds ago. You never met them before in your life, and they hate you, and they're going to be vile towards you. And I said, you got to step back and realize that it has absolutely nothing to do with you whatsoever. They came into the store that way. Someone cut them off in traffic. They stepped in dog crap on the way into the store. Who knows? It doesn't matter what the reason is. You just got to realize that they're not mad at you, and you just have to let it roll off of you.
Yeah.
And they'll calm down and tell you what they're looking for, what they need, and you help them. And, you know, I always try to send customers out happier than when they came in.
Yep.
It doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't always.
I said, I'll be right back. And I went to the break room and I went to my coworker. I said, you go deal with them. Go deal with the jerk on aisle 4, because I don't want to talk to them anymore, because I'm gonna hit them with a wrench or something.
We got plenty of them too. Got a whole aisle.
It's going to be a murder today. I got to go back out there. It's going to be a murder.
So
I'll be going to jail.
So when it comes to understanding that it's not personal,
right?
Was there a particular point that it just finally clicked that it has nothing to do?
It clicks. I think a lot of it had to do with, I don't do like a formal Bible study, but I read every day. I read a devotional in the morning. I read one at night before I go to bed, because it puts me in a positive or better mood. I think a lot of it had to do with reading that and drawing closer to God. And I'm not trying to be all religious and saying you got to change your ways and, you know, start attending church every day. But I think it helps. I think it sets a positive mindset for you. It takes away from all the negative crap in the world. But I think at some point, you just got to let that switch flip the other way and say, all right, it's not about me. It's about they had a bad experience at the store or at work or wherever, and has nothing to do with me. And it's not an easy process to remove yourself from that situation, because you feel like, why are you yelling at me? I didn't do anything to you. You know, I just woke up. Why are you mad at me?
And that's the
I haven't been here all day. What did I do?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, good grief, man. You were here. You got to be here all day. I was out and about.
Right.
But
I
again,
just got home.
And
what did I do?
that is one thing so many men struggle with, is they do take their girlfriend or wife being angry. They take it personally, even if she says something very, you know, snide towards you. It's it's not a personal attack upon you. It is just her thoughts and her emotions creating an action that's creating a result. Right. And
sometimes it is personal. So I felt that it was personal attacks.
Well, okay.
That's something entirely different that you got to learn to deal with that too, because.
And I can see how that could be viewed, but at the same time, it is just a person who is reacting off their emotions.
Right.
So you can always choose to take something personally, or you could even take it a personal attack and go, all right, well, I see somebody's in a bad mood right now. So,
I've done that too.
Okay. and it may not help them, because again, their reaction is actually just a reaction to the circumstance of your reaction.
Right.
So, you know, it can become just a reaction soup, where, you know, she's mad because, you know, her best friend didn't call her back within 15 minutes when she was supposed to, and you just happen to walk into the field of view, and so she launches out on you, and if you have, again, an unmanaged mind, you're letting your brain go unmanaged. You're liable to just go ahead and launch back at her, because
it's a very easy trap to fall into,
and it just becomes reaction upon reaction,
and you go back at them even harder than they came at you, and that doesn't really help anything. That's just. And I think there's a lot of those situations over the years that I was married where it's just like, well, fine. If you're going to be this way to me, I'm going to be this way to you. And in the long run, it doesn't help anybody.
No, it causes the emotion to fall apart.
Or my favorite thing was, oh, I'm sorry you were mad at me.
Let's talk about victim mindset right there.
I'm sorry you're mad.
Yeah.
There's a joke about that. When your wife is mad, put a towel around her shoulders and tell her now you're super angry. What was the other one? If you tell a woman she's being unreasonable, she'll listen to you and realize that she was being unreasonable, and she'll calm down.
She'll calm the hell down. Yeah,
calm right down. Oh, I'm sorry, I was at fault, and she'll calm right down. Yeah, that doesn't work either.
Didn't. Yeah.
But there's a lot of slamming doors and a lot of yelling and a lot of what was the term? Oh, hallway sex, where you pass each other in the hallway and say "f you" to one another.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of that.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of it, I realize now, and I can say it publicly and openly, that I screwed up a lot, and a lot of the issues were my fault. But there comes a point where you got to say, all right, it's enough, and this is not working because I'm the punching bag all the time.
Right.
And you're taking absolutely no personal responsibility for this whatsoever, where none of it's your fault, and that's not healthy. Right. You can't go through life or a marriage that way, where everything is one-sided.
No,
and seemingly one-sided.
It doesn't serve you to be that.
No, absolutely not.
That's where a lot of people, they actually will sacrifice themselves for the sake of the other person, and that altruism just doesn't help the person that they think they're saving, and it doesn't help the other the hero in the scenario. Doesn't do anything for either side, for the very fact of, hey, you've got to take care of yourself. And a lot of guys won't do that. They will sacrifice themselves, thinking that if I, sacrifice myself enough, if I hurt myself enough, that she'll start loving me again.
Right. And yeah. If I bow down to all her demands, do everything she wants. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about this. I said, even if I had done everything that my ex wanted me to do, it wouldn't have been enough.
No,
I could have met every demand. I could have exceeded every demand and every wish and every want and everything, and it wouldn't have been enough.
And she would have she would have resented you even more.
Exactly, that's where I was going. Yeah, eventually, I think your spouse will resent you if you're a doormat.
Yeah,
I don't think doormat is any way to go through life. Don't be a Melvin milk toast either. Where, yes, dear, whatever you say, dear, because eventually she's going to resent you for that and say, why aren't you a man? Why don't you stand up? Why don't you grow a spine?
That's the thing she actually wants when she is complaining about you.
Right. You don't stand up and be a jerk about it. Don't be all.
But no, let her know that you are a human being.
My way or no way kind of thing. But yeah, you have there's got to be resistance. There's got to be a point where you say, all right, I'm not a punching bag anymore.
And that's where the boundaries come into play. But at the same time,
and that was a big issue for my family, even my kids, because I went from being a guy that cursed like a sailor every second of every day to I don't want to be this way anymore. And I started changing, and none of them could accept it. It's like, wait a minute, why aren't you getting mad?
Why aren't you cursing? Now, let's look at that. Why do you think that they're actually had such a hard time accepting that?
Because I was that way for as long as my kids grew up with me being that way. And then I won't say it was like a switch flipped overnight and I was a different person. I gradually became that new person, and I'm still growing into that person, but I'm not the person I was a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. I am a different person right now. I had a lot of issues where I would get a lot of pushback because I wasn't acting the way I used to, and they couldn't accept that, and they still wanted. It's almost like they wanted to drag me back into that person because they didn't like me.
And that's exactly.
I think it was a comfort thing.
Yeah,
I think it was a comfort thing. I think that's what they're used to. That's how Daddy acts, and we don't like this new Daddy.
Yeah, all of a sudden
we don't know how to express it. We don't like it.
Dad's bettering himself.
Right.
And the fact that you're bettering them yourself and they're still down here, again, I'm sure there's a good bit of fear. If you were to really dig down in there, I bet you there was something along the lines of Dad's going to leave us behind because he's now going to see himself being too good for us. And,
maybe
and so,
I never thought about that way. That makes sense. It's easy to look back now and say, yeah, I can see why they reacted that way.
and that's why a lot of times when you have
point
friends,
of contention for all of us was I was a different person, and they didn't like that.
because
I started eating
you
healthier.
made them.
That was a big thing. It's like, well, why are you doing that? Because I don't want to eat the crap anymore. And since I've moved, I'm a different person. I've even grown since I've moved, where there's no stress anymore. I'm eating healthier. I'm living healthier. I'm actually leaving the house and doing things because I'm not saying that this is true, but it felt to me, and I'm going to put this on myself. It felt to me like she never wanted to do anything or do anything at the time when I wanted to do stuff. So now it's a different mindset. It's a different everything where I can look back and say, yeah, I was not a good person during this decade or this whatever. And I can see where, like I said, a lot of the issues were probably caused by me, but if you can't work that out and you can't come to some kind of agreement with your spouse about things you want or things you want to do or try or whatever, then I really don't know where to turn from that point. If you're both at odds about it, I don't know what to do.
And that is, again, that's where so many times we want to sacrifice ourselves. You're almost to the point to where you wanted to sacrifice your improvements, your self-improvements to go back down so that you would get some love from your kids. But in all reality, what you were doing is your kids were screaming of, I'm too scared to get out of my comfort zone. I don't know how to get out of my comfort zone so that I can follow you. And so that's where you could look at them, and I'm going to use the word pity just because I can't think of a better word to use because I don't like one of the things, like victims absolutely hate is to get pity from somebody.
Right.
I mean, that's the closest to attention that they will get.
Don't pity me.
Yeah. But at the same time, that's all you can do for a victim. And that's in a way, your kids are a victim of their own mental limitations.
Right.
And so, all you can do is you can feel bad for them and go, you can do it. You can come up and have a better life.
Right.
But you're going to have to leave stuff behind. We've all had friends who looked at you after you've made some major change in your life and go, well, you're not the same person. Well, no, duh, dude. I'm not supposed to be the same person. If I was the same person, I'd be still in the same. I'd be in the same crap hole that you're in as of right now, dude. I love you, but you have to come up to me. I'm not sliding back down for you.
I don't think you should ever. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I don't think you should ever settle for where you are in life. I think you should always be trying to do something better.
Always trying to be better.
And I've left a lot of friends behind. I left a lot of situations behind. I've given up TV shows and movies and things that I liked, but I know that they're detrimental to me, both spiritually and emotionally. And it's just stuff I don't need in my life anymore. And do I miss it? Sure. I like watching The Sopranos or watching those types of shows where I used to really love that and enjoy that. And now I watch it and it makes me feel uncomfortable. So I know that's not for me anymore.
Right.
And it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to change. It's a hard thing to. I never thought in my entire life that I would pack up my life or grab whatever I could fit in a suitcase with me and move 2,400 miles away from where I was. I never thought I would do it, but I am happier now than I have been. I'm better off than I have been, and I'm becoming a better person now. And that's not to say that where my family's at is a bad thing. If that works for them, that's great. I'm happy for them, and I will support them as much as I can in that. But I will always be pulling for them to be better or make themselves better or improve themselves in some way rather than being mired in that lifestyle or that position they're in.
Right. And that falls right into, because the relaxed male, there are 4 pillars that a man really truly needs to live by. And these 4 pillars make his foundation as solid as possible. And those foundations are, he's got to work on his mind, always improving that mind, always improving how you think, reading books, listening to podcasts, going to conferences, everything that you can do. Attending church is one of those where you're improving your mind.
Yes.
Then there is body. You've got to start. You always have to be improving your body, making sure that you're getting the exercise, starting to eat right. You don't have to go vegan. God help me. I'm not about to have anybody do that.
No.
You've got man was designed to eat charred animal flesh. And so we need to be eating that. And so we've got to eat right, and we've got to exercise. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, throw in some vegetables from time to time. Make it green beans. Brussels sprouts. Most people hate Brussels sprouts, but if you take Brussels sprouts and throw some bacon grease on top of it and cook it that way, all of a sudden, holy smokes, they're actually delicious. I never knew.
Funny story. I ate Brussels sprouts recently, and I didn't die. So
I know, yeah.
That's a positive. Wow. Okay, I ate one and I didn't die. I ate another one. I'm still alive. So yeah. It's funny, talking about eating better. I'm no vegan, like you said, but I've noticed that when I do the fruit smoothies every day and I eat the salad with the fruit and all the good stuff on it every day, I wasn't getting sick. And then I got lazy and I went back to processed foods and I went back to the boxed dinners and I went back to all the crap.
All of a sudden you started getting those inflammations
again. Getting sick again. Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm fighting to get back to where I was with the positive gut health and everything.
Yeah. And so,
I'm not a couch potato anymore. I don't sit at my computer for 18 hours a day like I used to. I actually leave the house and I get sunshine on my face, and it's a great
amazing
thing.
What happens when that happens. And then the third one is the man's soul. And this one is the one that most men struggle with because this is you finding what your purpose is. What is your calling? What are you supposed to do with yourself? And a lot of guys start off with saying, I don't know. Well, that's good. You're not supposed to know if you haven't been following it, but that becomes your purpose, is finding your purpose. Right. And so once you start feeding your soul, then you go for your community. And that's where men need that group of men that they meet with on a weekly basis.
Right.
And if they can't meet on a weekly basis, at the very least monthly, and y'all spend all day, a whole weekend, every month doing just guy stuff. And maybe it's just that everybody goes off and spends $400, buy themselves long bows, and everybody just for the weekend that y'all just do archery and shoot guns and stuff like that. And whatever it is, where you are spending a lot of time with a bunch of other guys in a masculine environment, and y'all are just doing guy stuff.
I think that bond is important. I think we need, and I think we're called to build one another up.
Absolutely.
I think you can't live in a vacuum. You can't live apart from society.
Yeah.
And you've got to do that. You've got to do that guy time, whether it's archery or sitting around a campfire, whatever, just being dudes. I think that's important. And doesn't have to be super like alpha male.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with Alpha Bravo, Charlie Delta, Epsilon or whatever. They need that opportunity and that safe feeling. I hate to use the word safe space because I absolutely adore it, but they need a place where they can feel like they can just be a dude. Yeah,
and not have to worry about it.
When you have those
sit and burp and whatever they want, without having you're a pig. No, it's a natural reaction to drinking beer.
I can either belch or I can let it come out the other end. And trust me, the other end's worse.
Right? Yeah, I'm not leaving the room for you. I'm sorry.
But no, and that's
right here.
But men learn the best when they're standing shoulder to shoulder with other men.
Yes.
And so when you have other guys that you're being around and you're doing that natural, taking all the negative energy out of you and bringing in positive energy because of the natural mechanics of masculinity, you're going to have a better life. And you're going to have your ex-wife and your ex-wives who are actually going to see you change, and they're going to go, wow, you've changed, you've become better. And you may even have them want to start trying to date again. And you're like, you may have to go. No, sweetheart, we had our time. It was great, but it's time to pass.
There's no going back. Once we're done, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
Because I left you for a reason, or you left me for a reason. So
right.
I want to take your male bonding one step further. I would actively encourage you, if you're a father and you get to spend time with your kids and you have sons, bring your sons with you. Let your son,
very much so.
let your sons see it's okay to be a dude. Not having society poo-poo the idea of whatever it is you're doing, whether it's hunting or fishing or whatever you want to do. Bring your sons with you.
Oh, I agree. Let them know that's one of the great things that dads need to do is, especially when a boy turns from 11 to 13 in that range, dads need to be as centered in that boy's life as absolutely possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, if that means you have to drop what you're doing and move across the country to the same state that your son's in, do it. Well, what about money? What about money? You know how to make it. You were making it in the previous state, so you can do it over here.
Growing up, I didn't have that because my dad worked a lot when I was younger. And by the time I became a teenager, we'd already separated so far apart that there was no going back. And I was an adult before I could accept like being in the same room as him. And I'm not saying he was a bad father. He wasn't a bad father at all. I don't want that. I don't want it to be taken that way. He just wasn't a present dad like I was with my kids.
Right.
And my brother and I went the exact opposite with our oldest children from what he did. We went the extreme other way, and that's not good either. So
no, you don't want to be a helicopter.
When my son came along, I started veering back the other way to be a more centered parent. But
yeah, you want to be able to
I wish my dad would have had the relationship that I had with my son. Yeah. I wish I would have had that with my dad growing up.
And
my son and I were very close.
Oh yeah.
And that's part of what kills me now, that he won't talk to me. And I'm sure there are reasons. His reasons are his own, and I can't force him to come around.
So with him not
he wakes
talking
up and says, "I miss my dad."
Yeah.
And I want to start talking to him again. I will absolutely 1,000,000% be open to either one of my children coming to me and say, "Hey, I'm sorry we haven't talked for so long. I want to start over again, or I want to start up again, or whatever." I absolutely accept that. And I think a lot of fathers have to realize, as you're going through a divorce, that your kid doesn't necessarily hate you.
No.
A lot of it is what they get.
They're catching all the
information. A lot of it, and this goes
you.
both ways, whether it's the mother divorcing or the father divorcing. A lot of it comes from the parent they spend the most amount of time with. And they may, if you hate your spouse, don't ever tell your kids that you hate your spouse. That's not good for you. It may make you feel better. It may make you feel vindicated in some way, saying, "Well, I hate them, so it's okay."
Yeah.
Right. I saw that way too often, where one parent just absolutely vilifies the other parent, and maybe the father or the mother didn't do anything wrong, as far as society is concerned, but they harmed them in some way, or they spurned them in some way, and now they're gonna turn their kids against them. Absolutely, do not do that. Do not turn your kids against your spouse. No matter what you feel for your spouse or your ex-spouse, keep it to yourself. Always be that positive role model, no matter what, no matter how much it hurts you. You can go when the kids are at their mom's house. You can drink, you can do whatever you want. You can be as stupid as you want, and you bitch about them all you want. But when you're present in your kid's life, you can't do that. You can't say, "Well, he was a jerk or she was a jerk or whatever." You gotta maintain that your father is still your father, your mother is still your mother, no matter what.
Right. And I think one of the great little tools I actually recommend men do is if they have a instance where their child isn't talking with them anymore because of reasons. One of the greatest things to grab is a notebook, a spiral notebook, and every day just write a letter to your child. Leave it in the notebook, but just write. And date it, October 13th, 2023. "Hey, John, just wanted to drop in real quick just to let you know I'm thinking about you today and missed you. Today I went off, worked, I actually went off and closed a deal worth $30,000. One of the best feelings I've had today. I wish I was able to see you, to celebrate with you, and just to share all that, your life with him." And when Johnny or your whoever shows up and finally comes back and goes, "You know what? I was a jerk. I'm sorry, Dad. I turned my back from you." You can go, "You're okay. You were always in my heart." And you can show all 14 notebooks that you've got, and go, this is me thinking of you. I want you to have these, and this is a gift, and give it to them. And if they read it, awesome. If they don't, awesome. But they know that you were thinking about them for, however many pages worth of letters.
That's a good. I should probably start doing it. I send both my kids a text every night before I go to bed. I haven't missed in over a year and a half, however long I've been here. I haven't missed. I don't know if they're reading them or not. I don't know if they're getting them or not. I don't know, but every night I send them a good night text. I love you. I miss you. Whatever. Thinking about you, or this happened today. So yeah, I've never once given up hope that someday they'll come around.
Yeah, and
it's hard.
It takes a while. Hard thing to do. Agree.
When you're single and your kids aren't with you and you miss them and they don't talk to you or whatever, it's a hard thing to get to. But I'm telling any guy that's listening to this right now, or even the women, if women are listening to this and going through the same thing, never ever give up hope. It's very easy to say, well, forget it, I'm done. They want nothing to do with me. I'm not gonna think about them. I'm not gonna have them in my life. It's very easy to do that, but it's very hard. But it's absolutely worthwhile to maintain that. They're my kids. I love them. I'm thinking about them. I'm going to constantly engage with them, whether they're with me or not. And two things are going to happen. Either the kid's going to be pissed off at you and tell you to stop, and that's at least that's a reaction, so you know that they're aware of what you're doing, or they're going to be silent, and eventually they'll come around.
Yeah, and I was the wayward son for quite a while, and it wasn't with a parent. It was with a step parent, and my stepmom had essentially raised me from the age of 4 till after I graduated from high school. And then after high school, I was wanting to pull away from parents as most guys typically want to do. And she wanted to hold on a little bit tighter. And so became almost a force of will to where I just pulled myself away. It's like, we're not talking about it. We're not doing anything. She wants to talk to me. Fine. We'll handle it as we handle it. And went our separate ways I didn't talk to her hardly at all. Maybe once, twice, maybe even a total of maybe 5 times in the past 30 years. And then back in 2019, she did. She reached out and said, hey, kind of wanted to see how you're holding up. And it just kind of belt back up. And yeah, I still have a lot of apprehension every time I hear her call, see that she's called or she's texted or she wants me to come to her house. It's like, oh crap, are we going to start everything up this time, or is it still going to be, amicable? And I know deep down it's going to stay amicable because one, the things we were fighting about were stupid stuff that we were fighting about. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter one way or the other. It was stupid stuff. It was pride. It was ego that was in the way. And so, but yeah, it comes back in, and you can go, no matter what anybody says, you can go back home. Right. It may not look the exact same way because good example. My stepmother doesn't, when I was growing up, you did not let a dog come in the house. And first time I showed up at her house, there were 4 freaking dogs in that damn house. I was like, what the hell? And oh my gosh, she was a proper Southern Baptist woman and didn't, there was several times Dad would walk in with half a 6-pack of Michelob and in the morning, all the remaining bottles have been dumped out in the sink and all that. And now I go in there and her grandkids that were old enough to drink had alcohol stored in the freezer. And it's like, what the world, man? This is
right.
Am I sure this is the right Vicky house? Did I go with the wrong one? But it happens. But at the same time, like I said, life becomes, you can go back home. because people do grow up, they do change, they become better people, they become less egocentric, and that's where a lot of our problem is. If there's anything that's actually who the great Satan actually is, it's the ego. The ego is Satan.
I agree.
So, but anyhow, so anything else you'd like to talk about while we're all here still?
No, I think we covered everything I had in mind to cover, and a few things I wasn't expecting, which is always nice.
Always nice, yeah.
Surprises are always, well, not always good, but usually good.
So
these are all pleasant surprises. So.
All right. So you do have a podcast of your own, At Home with Craig, and
sure.
So how would people be able to find you there?
Like I say in my podcast, anywhere where fine pods are cast, you can find me on pretty much any service now. Probably the easiest one is through Anchor or podpage.com/athomewithcraig.
Oh,
I love Podpage.
Way, yeah. So,
nice plug for them. So if they want to like do a sponsorship, I'm open to. I'm always open to offers and deals and whatnot. So yeah.
Well, here soon we'll eventually get you over onto Libsyn or Blueberry. So get you off of Anchor there.
Eventually I'll leave Anchor, but if I leave Anchor, then I got to pay for another service, and I don't want to pay.
It's $20. It's not that great. You're like, yeah, whatever, dude.
Anchor works for now. I'll tell you what, if I get more than 20 listeners for a few months to my podcast, I will switch to somewhere else. But for the 6 or 7 people that listen loyally, thank you very much. I love each and every one of you.
So,
and once in a while, I'll get like 10 listens. I'm like, oh, I found new people.
Wow, yeah, exactly.
Where'd that come from?
Were those bots? And you start looking through, looking around, just trying to figure out where in the world all those extra listens come from.
Really? Sri Lanka. Interesting.
Yeah,
all right.
wow.
And, I had a presence there, but there's 2 people from Sri Lanka every week, or wherever, or Indochina.
Yeah.
They come from weird places. Like I don't speak that language, so I don't know what they're getting out of this, but hey, they're listening every week.
As long as I'm helping.
It's the same thing with YouTube, because I'll record in usually like OBS or something. So I'll do the video, and I use Audacity. I separate out the audio from the video, and I'm like, why not? I send the video to YouTube, and I get like 10 or 11 watches.
No, there you go.
No real interaction yet. And I've only got like 995 subscribers to go before I can monetize. So, I'm getting there. Someday I'll hit that 1,000 mark, and I'll start making a few bucks from YouTube every month.
Get a few shekels tossed your way, and
right, exactly. I enjoy it. As long as I enjoy doing the podcast, I'm going to keep doing it.
Good.
I know I do it mostly for me, and I usually go about a half hour because that's as long as I can stand to talk to myself. Like, that's long enough. And with the intro music, all right, I'll hit 20 minutes. All right,
doing good.
I'll be good.
So, all right. Well, Craig, man, it has been a pleasure to be able to talk with you, get you on the show, and
I enjoyed doing this with you.
We'll have to drag you on here again because it's just. You're actually tapping into being the longest episode we've had so far. So
nice.
So we're going to be hitting close to probably about an hour 45. So
all right, cool.
So all right, well, man, you have yourself a good rest of the day. Appreciate you again, and we will. I'll make sure to have everybody jump over to your sites, and we'll
absolutely
talk to you. We'll talk to you here a bit later then.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right. Catch you later. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.